Presenting my essay on how technology has changed special education. It is no secret that the education system has failed to properly educate young minds of generation after generation, and has been flawed since the very beginning. It has especially failed many marginalized groups of people, and in these next few slides, I would like to speak specifically about those with special needs. In 2019, the Secretary of the Department of Education, Betsy DeVos, reveals the budget cuts that target special education specifically. There was a 26% cut of the special education grants to state, a $7.5 million cut to the National Technical Institute for the Blind, a $13 million cut for Gallaudet University, and a $5 million cut to the federal program for print books for blind students. The systemic ableism that has plagued the education system is dated back legally to the late 1800s. In 1893, the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled the expulsion of students solely based on their academic abilities, with this failing to take into account those with disabilities. It took nearly 30 years later, the Wisconsin Supreme Court denied education to students with cerebral palsy, claiming that those individuals created a depressing and nauseating environment for educators and students. This took yet another 30 years to be ruled discrimination under the 1954 court case Brown versus Board of Education that was addressing racial discrimination, but ended up having a significant influence on special education. According to the 2006 Pulliam and Van Pattern book, The History of Education in America, it is stated that as late as 1975, up to half of the 8 million children with disabilities in the United States were either being inappropriately educated or fully excluded from the public school setting. On November 29th, 1975, President Ford signed what is now known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This act ruled that it is the legal right of all students with disabilities to receive an IEP, also known as the Individual Educational Program, an appropriate public education to be treated fairly in an inclusive environment. Many things are to come. It is the belief of many special education advocates that 26th President-elect Joe Biden and his specialists will be game changers for special education. These advocates are expecting a substantial increase in policies that affects students with disabilities, full funding of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and improvements to the education system that can help the success of all students. The special education consultant and retired co-director of California's Special Education Task Force, Marian Burness, states Biden's election sends our hearts into elation because we have been fighting for these things for years. We feel this is the real opportunity to make positive change and help students with disabilities. Technology over the past 30 years has changed education as a whole, but has specifically made educating students with disabilities possible and easier for educators. Educators state that introducing technology into their classrooms has created a more inclusive learning environment and created a class where all students could experience academic success. In many cases, the brain works faster than students' hands could write, so teachers introduced text-to-speech programs on computers that allows the textbook text to be read out loud to students who struggle to comprehend the information while reading the book. The same thing goes for writing, as there are programs that allow students to speak text and the computer relays it onto the page for them. The educators of multiple disabled classrooms use these two specific programs to help the majority of their students, those students being on the autism spectrum, the visually impaired, with Down syndrome, etc. An extremely common source used specifically for students with speech delays and impediments is the AAC app ProLiQ. This app is used as an argumentative and alternative communication device. It has a wide range of thematic templates and grids to ensure individual use. Apps like these are crucial in special education classrooms. Elementary school multi-disabled classroom teacher Michelle Perez states, "I have a student with delay of speech. The app ProLiQ doesn't take away from her language, but helps her enhance and learn new techniques without her getting frustrated." Braille transcribers for the visually impaired have not been the most successful pieces of equipment. There are oftentimes very expensive and never 100% accurate, but these machines are being enhanced slowly every day. But unfortunately, due to the lack of funding, it is very hard to do so. Students who happen to be visually and hearing impaired usually use an FM system in class. These systems work as small microphones attached to the educator and sends the voice straight to the student's ear. So it is made easier for them to retain the information in class without it sounding any different, no matter how far away the teacher is from the student. Another pro to the FM system is how it makes the teacher's voice louder than all the other noises in the room. This is the perfect tool for students with ADD, ADHD, sensory issues, etc. These technologies are making a substantial impact in the world of special education. And finally, technology